If you want fast-paced books, if you want easy-to-read books, if you want books that are page-turners because you are bored or you want to get out of a reading slump, or you just want to avoid reality because we all need to at some point in life, then this is your video. Thank me later. Hey you guys, welcome back to the channel. I hope you're doing very nice, and I'm sending a lot of hugs and positivity to all of you. Hi, if you're new, welcome to the channel. I really hope you enjoy the content, and if you do, please do consider subscribing. I'm going to recommend tons and tons of binge-worthy books to you. I think I have tried and covered all genres. I have also divided the books in various categories and authors, so you can make a perfect list for yourself, a perfect playlist of the books that you can binge on and binge on it according to your own preference. And I'm so excited to recommend these books that are not just easy to read, not just page turners, not just binge-worthy, but also beautiful, even life-changing sometimes stories. My throat is playing with me. Let's get over that and let's begin the video. The first book we have is The Mountain and the Masters by Anurag Sharma. It is a story of Arya who has been through so much in his life, but nothing breaks him, and his focal point, his love in his life has always been the mountains. Only when something really horrible happens very much in the future, he breaks down, he gives up, he's like, nothing matters to me anymore in my life. That is when his friend comes to his rescue and shows him, hey Arya, wasn't there something that you really liked? And that is when Arya focuses on the mountains, and he realizes his lifelong dream, his lifelong desire to go into the mountains and see what it is actually like. Once he goes into the mountains, he meets these different masters, he meets these different people, and he learns lessons, and it's one of the most beautiful experiences ever. It's written in this really cute, warm and cheesy style, and so if you don't like very cheesy lines, you may not enjoy the book as much, though I still do recommend it. Like, give it a chance. It is just around 140 pages, which just makes it so much more bingeable. I got it on my Kindle app in my phone, and I did not stop. I finished reading it in one sitting at night because of how the story moves forward, because I love the book The Alchemist, and this book sort of reminded me of The Alchemist. The lessons, the emotions, everything is so ripe. Teenagers must read it, and even if you're an adult and you're a beginner, highly recommend. Thrillers, thriller crime, psychological thrillers, all of these dark books, which I think comes under the umbrella of thrillers, is one of the most binge-worthy genres ever, starting with one of the most binge-worthy authors that I have ever known in my entire life. When it comes to thrillers, we have Holly Jackson's 5 Survive, and even though this is a thriller, even if you're a teenager, you can read it because it's a YA thriller, and it is a very good one at that. This is the story of these 3 young adults who are in an RV. They are traveling from one point to another, but the RV breaks down in a certain place, and they're just like, oh my god, why did the RV break down? What is going on? And then they realize that there is actually the sniper outside, and the sniper is targeting someone on the inside, and we do not know what is going on. Like, literally, what is going on. I read this book in 3 hours, and that is record time. Except this, I have read only 1 or 2 books, which obviously is in this video, in like 3.5 hours. And it was not because I was rushing through it, it was not because I did not focus enough, it was because I just couldn't stop. It's crazy how much I just want to like sometimes stick my eyes to the pages of it so that my eyes could read faster what is going on and follow the story at the same time. That is how amazingly bingey this book is. A must read for beginners, for teenagers. Next up, we have an author in the thriller section who is yet again one of the most bingeable authors. I think anybody who starts with this author will read like 6 of her books. 6 of her books in 6 days, in a week, sometimes in 3 days. I have seen people who read like 6 of her books in 3 days because they just cannot stop. It is that beautiful. And the author is Frida McFadden, and these are all of the books. We have The Inmate by Frida McFadden, we have The Housemaid's Secret and The Housemaid, which is a series, by the way. We have The Locked Door by Frida McFadden. I have read all of these, and they are amazing stories. I still have to read this, but I know after reading so many books by her that the vibe is similar. There is darkness, it is twisted, but it is insanely easy to read. Like, so easy to read. They're so short, so binge-worthy. They are adult thrillers, so don't read it if you are a teenager, but they are completely beginner friendly. If you have never read dark books before, if you just want to dip your toes into it, these are your books. I will highly recommend that you do not read the blurb of these books, because I feel like the blurbs give away a lot. Just listen to what I am saying in a line and go ahead with it. Just like trust me on this. We have The Housemaid and The Housemaid's Secret, which is a story of a housemaid, obviously, who is really poor. She's living in her car, and then she gets hired by this really rich family, a really rich couple, to take care of the house, and she gets to live in that house. But weird things are happening in the house and we get to follow them. One doctor, a successful surgeon, is hit with a blast from the past, and now everything in her life is changed. She has to revisit her past to see what was actually there behind the locked door. This one I have not read, but it is a story of this woman that goes to prison, and I think she meets her ex-boyfriend over there, and they start revisiting the memories and their relationship from when they were outside the prison. That's it. That's all you want to know. If you like any of those premises, just pick up the book and read it, because if you read the blurb, trust me, 20 to 30% of the book is given away, and that sort of does ruin with your reading experience. Speaking from experience myself. Next up, we have Strange Sally Diamond by Liz Nugent. This is the story of Strange Sally Diamond, whose father told her that
when I die, just throw me away with trash.
And he was joking, but she took it seriously. She did throw her dad away with trash. She is strange, and we don't know why, except as you go ahead in the book, you do come to know why, because we dive into her past. It is such a crazy book. I have never read a book like this. It is a very one-of-a-kind book. As you move forward, there's also dual POV because of someone else that is also very important to the story. It's a very day and night kind of a situation, but the best part of this book is the ending. Oh my god, that you do not see coming. I read, I think, 75 pages of this book in 1 hour, which also is sort of like record time for me, because I read 1 page per minute the fastest, like when I'm reading really fast. So that was crazy, but only because the writing was so nice that I got sucked inside the book, and it is one of the best books ever. It's an adult book, so teenagers can't read it, but it's very beginner friendly, and if you've never read psychological thrillers before, this is the perfect one. The next 4 books I have recommended so many times before, but I'm still gonna recommend them because they just deserve it, and they are some of the most binge-worthy thrillers I have ever read in my entire life. First up, we have The Silent Patient by Alex Michaelides. It's also so popular on like Book Talk and stuff, so it has gotten the attention that it deserves. If you are wondering whether it is worth the pick, yes it is. Pick it up. It is the story of this woman who kills her husband and then goes silent, and so she is the silent patient. And then we have the psychologist who is like, if I get this woman to talk, my career will explode, and you see his career exploding. Such a binge-worthy book. I read this book in darkness. I had no light around me. I almost read it in like street light or something because of how binge-worthy it is. You cannot stop. Next, we have Finlay Donovan is Killing It. Weirdly, I read this book in 2 days, but looking back at it, I really do wish I read it at once, because it's written in a way that you want to eat it as whole. You don't want to take breaks in between. It is the story of Finlay Donovan, who is a single mother, and she's taking care of her child, but also she is a writer and she has to submit a book. So she goes and meets her agent, and they're discussing the plot of her new book. Then somebody on the other table listens to the story, and she's like, oh, Finlay Donovan is a hit woman, and she's given an assignment to kill an actual person. This one is hilarious. Even though it's a thriller, it's a cozy murder mystery. So if you like cozy book, it's dark but not sinister and not graphic, then this is your book. And I do think that teenagers can read this one. Next up, of course, this video would not be complete without it. We have Rock Paper Scissors by Alice Feeney. This was the other book I was talking about that I read in record time. I mean, 3 hours, I guess, for like a 300 pages book. That never ever happens, but this one, it did. This actually just literally changed my life. Oh my god, because I can never forget the experience I had when I was reading this book. The whole time you are pulling your hair because you're like, what is going on? Like, at a point I was crying. I was like, please, not actually crying, but I was like, please, I beg you, Alice Feeney, for some reason give me some release, because I just can't take this. I can't take so much mystery built in my head. I can't take the fact that I can't trust anybody at all. But the ending was glorious. One of the best binge-worthy books ever. It's the story of this couple that is having some problems, and so they take a vacation, and on that vacation some weird things happen and secrets are spilled out. Next is the third book that I was talking about, which I binged so quickly I couldn't believe it, and that is Behind Her Eyes by Sarah Pinborough. It's a story of yet another couple having issues, another adult thriller, so you can't read it if you're a teenager, but so insanely beginner friendly. If you want to understand why thriller lovers read thriller books, or even why bookish people read books in general, then you need to read this book, because it proves to you just how amazing books can be. And in the end, we have The Last Word by Taylor Adams. I have talked about this book so much because I love it so much. This is one of the best thriller books I have ever read. It's not about the mystery, and it's not about the crime that is going on. It's a pure thriller book. I'm still looking for such an amazing thriller book. I have not read any since this book. This is the story of a reader who reads a book and she doesn't really like it, so she gives the book 1 star, and then the author starts to chase her. Crazy, insane, has dual POV within the chapters, so it's almost like a movie script that you're reading back to back. The entire scene is built up so beautifully. It is graphic, it is dark, it is sinister, it gives you the adrenaline rush that will leave you exhausted. And I always say this is a paisa vasool book. It's the kind of book that you need in your library. Those were all of the thriller books. Moving on to a little bit like a mix of literary fiction and romance. The first author I have for you in literary fiction, women's fiction, romance is Taylor Jenkins Reid. Taylor Jenkins Reid has time and again brought me out of reading slumps, and even if she's not bringing me out of reading slumps, I can't not put the book on me and read the book, just because of how insanely interesting the stories are, how deep they are, how memorable the characters are. They stay with you forever. The women in these books, oh my god, they can't leave you, they change you. But all of this in very easy language, and that language, that writing style is what gets me. You have so many quotable lines that sometimes you read these quotable lines in books that are very difficult, like they're written in a difficult way, and beginners can't really start with that book. But when it comes to Taylor Jenkins Reid, she will welcome you into the reading world, even if it's your first book ever, and she will make you stay. She writes characters that are so insanely self-aware but still brutal, and you're just trying to judge them in your mind, but at the end of the day you're like, can I really judge them? So harsh. I have 4 books over here, but I have read 5 books by her. One of them is Carrie Soto's Back. It's somewhere that I can't find, so I don't have the physical copy. Starting with The 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo, which is the story of this great woman. Evelyn Hugo. She has big ambitions in a time when women weren't really allowed to have big ambitions, and she has 7 husbands. Why? You come to know when you read the book. One insane character. I have not read any character like that ever, even by the same author herself. Anybody who reads 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo, even if they are like, oh my god, I don't like book talk books, I don't like these over popularized books or overhyped books, they all love it. They all love 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. The sole reason being Evelyn, no, actually no, not for teenagers though, sorry. Next up we have Malibu Rising, which I recently read, which is a story of the Riva family, the parents, their parents, and their kids. The Riva family has deep history of toxicity and craziness happening, and now we get to see if that is also their future. That is the best way for me to explain this book to you without giving a lot away. It's called Malibu Rising because the children, who are sort of like the main characters of the book, they are in Malibu, and you also get multiple POVs in this book of all of the 4 children. The book had me from the prologue itself. It was crazy. This is one of the best books I've ever read. Next we have One True Love, which is a story of a woman that loses her husband, and then she is moving on and she is dealing with the grief, and she meets another man only to realize that her husband didn't actually die, and he comes back. So now you get to see what happens after that. I do not do love triangles. I did this one. The way this book describes the feelings that you feel, even if you've not really been through them, you know what she's talking about. And this is one of the only romance books that I have read by her, and it was done beautifully. Not my most favorite book because I like it more when she's writing like these lone characters where romance is not really the plot, but I still digged it even after hating the love triangle trope. Next we have Daisy Jones and the Six, which is the story of Daisy Jones and the Six, a band which became really popular, but then they disbanded when they were at the peak of their popularity. It is written in an interview style, so you get to see everybody's perspective, which is crazy, and if not done well it would have been very confusing, but it was not confusing at all. It takes like 5 pages to get into the book, to understand all of the characters, the kind of people that they are, and then it goes ahead to destroy you. In the end, we have Carrie Soto is Back by Taylor Jenkins Reid, which is the story of Carrie Soto, who is was a world-class tennis player. She retired, but then she comes back due to some reasons, and you see her journey of what happened before and what's gonna happen ahead. Even if you don't like tennis, please don't refrain from the book. It will sort of like make you want to play tennis, and even if it doesn't make you want to play tennis, it's not hard to understand at all. Very easy to read. I would actually recommend teenagers to read it. Moving on to Greek mythology, one of the most bingiest book that I have ever read. We have Girl Goddess Queen by Bea Fitzgerald. This is the story of Persephone and Hades, which I think is one of the best couples ever to exist in Greek mythology. If you have never read Greek mythology, no problem at all, start with this book. Persephone is usually treated as this character who is the goddess of spring, but she's dumb and like she's just dragged by Hades into the underworld. But when you read this book, you realize, oh, that's not what happened at all. Persephone actually jumped into hell. She made her own choice and she jumped in hell, in the underworld where we have Hades. Glory. The reason I say it is romance also is because there is a subplot of Persephone and Hades, and apart from that it's Greek mythology because there's a lot of power play going on. Everything that you find in Greek mythology is going on. There are other gods, there are other struggles, and it's also the soul story of Persephone and her journey, and it is beautiful. It's such a thick book, so if you like big books, then this is yours. And even though it's so thick, I genuinely binged it. I put so many stories of it when I was binging on it because I just couldn't stop myself on Instagram. Next up in romance, you're gonna see my excitement somewhere else, so I'm gonna save it. We have Funny Story by Emily Henry. I got the ARC of the book, you guys, and I binged it. This is what the original cover looks like. This is the ARC cover of the book. It's a story of Daphne and Miles. Daphne's fiance leaves her, and Daphne's ex-fiance's current fiance is Miles' ex-fiance. She also leaves Miles. So her ex-fiance and his ex-fiance, they are both together now, and these people are completely devastated. So then they find a friend in each other, and after that you just get to see what happens as you move ahead. Mostly all of the Emily Henry books are very binge-worthy, but none of them are as binge-worthy as this because I feel like there are some really intense topics usually discussed in her books, especially books like Happy Place. This book was actually funny, and the writing style was so different from any of her other books, which really very pleasingly surprised me. It was funny, but also realistic a little bit, but also romantic, but also like the tropes done really well, the tropes that I don't always enjoy. And I was shocked by how much I love this book, and I could not stop reading. If you don't trust me, ask my dad. I took this book to my parents' house and I was sitting and reading over there, and they were like, Anchal, what are you doing? You have to spend time with us. And I was like, yes, I will. Let me just read this book first. It's that binge worthy. Not for teenagers, I apologize. Come on, grow up quickly so you can read amazing books like these. Adults, this is the book for you. If you want a funny story, or you just like a funny story of two people, this is your book. I loved it so much. Oh, by the way, it's not out yet. It is going to come out in April 2024, but I will put a link of this in the description, so as soon as it comes out, you can read it. Next up, we have The 7-Year Slip by Ashley Poston. I read it, you guys. I read it. Look at all of those tabs that I have put in the book. This is the story of Clementine, who has recently lost her aunt, who she loved very much. So she shifts into her house, and that house, some reason, can travel in time. And when it travels in time, Clementine meets this guy in the apartment out of nowhere. The time travel aspect of it, not very difficult to understand. So if you're not a sci-fi reader and stuff and you're like, wait, is this like really difficult sci-fi? No, it's not. It was so easy. I don't think Ashley Poston books are like that go into the sci-fi of things. It is more about the story of Clementine, her dealing with the grief and her dealing with the kind of person she is in herself, and the romance side of things. And this is one of the most beautiful romance books I have ever read in my entire life. I have also read Dead Romantics by the same author, but Dead Romantics was just not as binge-worthy as this book. I loved it so much. It is adult romance, but I think even if you're a teenager, you can read it because it does not have any graphic details of anything. And beginners, eat it up. Next we have Love Redesigned by Lauren Asher. Yet another really thick book, which I think it could honestly be a little thinner. I don't mind it at all because of how much I love the couple. It's a story of Julian and Dahlia, who were rivals since childhood. Both the characters are so nice and so self-aware, which is so rare to find in romance books. They both know what they're doing, they both know what they're feeling, and they both go through a beautiful healing journey with each other. And even though it's a long book about two characters sometimes going over the same thing over and over again, you just love them so much and you root for them so hard that you're okay with it. This is for adults. Teenagers, go away. Next in romance we have Tessa Bailey books. These are the books that I genuinely enjoy. I think I've read two other books by Tessa Bailey. I've not liked them so much, but Tessa Bailey books are always binge-worthy romances, and they are insanely, amazingly spicy. So if you like spicy books, then you will love them. This is an opposites attract. Pippa, who is like this really rich, spoiled girl, goes to a small town and meets the captain over there. This is Sunshine Grumpy. Haley is a gardener and she meets Julian, and they actually knew each other when they were kids, but then they have not met since like 12 years or something. And then they meet again. I love both of these books so much. I still think about them. Julian and the captain. In the end, in the romance section, I have Ali Hazelwood for you. If you want to read YA for all my teenagers out there, you can read Check and Mate by her, which is the story of these two Czech prodigies. They're like just really good at chess. Did I say Czech prodigies? Chess prodigies. I changed the lighting. But this is also more of the story of Mallory and her journey with things, and it is very inspiring. Sort of really made me tear up, and I loved the romance too. The romance is very little, but I loved it. As much as it was there, I loved it. And then all my adults out there, we have 3 books for you. We have Love Theoretically, Love on the Brain, and The Love Hypothesis. This is the story of Olive, who kisses her professor Adam, and they have to go ahead and fake date for Olive's best friend to believe that Olive does have a boyfriend, and so she can date her ex-boyfriend. Complicated, cheesy, can get weird here and there, but so worth it. I loved it and so binge-worthy. Story of Bee, who wants to do something really big in science and in NASA, and she goes to NASA to build an equipment, and she meets this grumpy guy there, but you go ahead and you see that he's not really grumpy. Levi, oh my God. The story of 2 physicists, theoretical and experimental, who are supposed to be the rivals of each other, and they are rivals of each other, coming together. All these science and spice, love, romance books, they're so good. The female characters in all of them I don't enjoy a lot, but the male characters in all of them, oh my God, I think they were the main reason why these books were binge worthy. Next up we have series, because it's so easy to binge on a series. Tons of pages to go through for the same character that you genuinely love. First up we have the Shiva trilogy by Amish, The Immortals of Meluha, The Secret of the Nagas, and The Oath of the Vayuputras. This is the story of Shiva, who is just been living like this chill life till he comes to know that he is the chosen one. He is the Neelkant, so it has the chosen one trope. I have not always liked the chosen one trope, but I devoured these books. It was such an amazing experience, and I remember I couldn't stop myself from reading these. I finished it in, I guess, 3 days, or at least a week. That too is crazy. I think it just took me a week because of this book, because of how thick it is, and this one gets a little detail oriented and hinders with your binge reading experience a little bit, but it is the last book, so it's fine. The second book is just glorious. If you're interested in Indian mythology at all, if you like the story of Shiva and Shakti, then you will devour these books. And it has a lot of science also in it, but in a very, very easy way. I knew so many things because I am into Shiva and Shakti in the real life, and then I just loved how the science explained all of it. The next series I have for you obviously is another series by Holly Jackson. We have Good Girl's Guide to Murder series. This one, I think even if you are a teenager, you can read it and then just stop. It is the story of Pippa, who decides to take on a project to understand what exactly happened to Andy 5 years ago. She's doing this project for her school. Everybody knows that Sal is the murderer, but Pippa just thinks that, you know, that's probably not true, and she wants to do more research. You can read this book as a stand-alone as a teenager and then get done with it. For the adults out there, if you enjoy the characters in this book and you want to go deeper into her story, you have the other two books. You have Good Girl, Bad Blood, which is the story of Pippa not wanting to get into more crime solving things, but she has to get into it. And then As Good as Dead, where Pippa herself is stalked. Oh my god, the dark turns. Read these books in 1 week, and by like my week is 5 days because I don't read on the weekend. So I read these 3 books in 5 days because of how binge-worthy they were. If you want a fantasy binge-worthy series, we have the ACOTAR series. I have not read all of the books, but I do know that I just can't stop myself once I start reading those books. ACOTAR is a Coat of Thorns and Roses, which is the story of Feyre, who kills some wolf that she's not supposed to kill, and then she is captured by a High Lord fairy. That's all I'm going to tell you. Apart from that, you have to read the book to know, which then goes on to A Coat of Mist and Fury, A Coat of Frost and Starlight, A Coat of War and Ruin, A Coat of Silver Flames. A Coat of Silver Flames is not the story of Feyre herself. It is the story of her sister Nesta. If you like fantasy, but more than fantasy, if you like fantasy romance, then these are your books. Unfortunately, teenagers cannot read this book. I am so sorry. It just becomes a little weird as you move forward. Talking about more fantasy, we have A Study in Drowning by Ava Reid, which is the story of Effie. This is an academic fantasy. Effie thinks of herself as a loser, but then she gets the opportunity to design a house for one of her most favorite authors ever, and she takes upon that opportunity and goes over there, only to find out the truth about the author that she did not imagine. If you are the kind of person who believes in never meet your heroes because the perspective completely changes, then you will really enjoy this book. It's been like a month or two, and I think about this book as a whole. Such a beautiful book. You cannot miss out on it. It's one of my most favorite books ever, and as I said, I cannot stop thinking about Effie. There's also a subplot, a very tiny subplot of romance in it, obviously, of rivals to lovers, which is beautiful, just beautiful. I love that too. And overall, it was an amazing binge-worthy experience. Even if you are a beginner in the fantasy world, you can actually start with this, because one of the major problems with fantasy books is that the names and the locations and everything is so hard to pronounce, it's so hard to read, the world build-up is so hard, but that is not true with this book. And the next fantasy book I have for you is Fourth Wing by Rebecca Yarros. It's a story of Violet, who wants to become a scribe, but her mother forces her to go to the Fourth Wing and become a rider, become a soldier, somebody who fights wars. And Violet thinks that she's really weak, but now she has to survive. This is not the best fantasy book out there. Now that I have read actually a lot of fantasy, I do realize it is not the best fantasy book out there. But if you are a fantasy beginner and you want to binge on a book, then this is the perfect one for you, because it makes you see just how beautiful the fantasy world can get, especially with the dragons. Because if a rider does not have a dragon, the rider dies. This one is also very heavy on the romance. If you like enemies to lovers, you will love this book. Even if you have never enemies to lovers in fantasy before, you should read this and you will come to know that it's a beautiful trope. In the end, we have the YA section, the young adult section, so you can read these books as a teenager. First up, we have Almond by Won Pyung Son. This is a story of a little boy who sees his mother and his grandmother get killed in front of his eyes, but the twist is that he cannot feel feelings, he cannot experience or express any emotion, so his face is completely blank and you don't know what's going on in his head. And then you follow the journey of this boy. I think it's been like 1.5 years since I read this book, but I still to this day think about this book. You cannot miss out on this. And if you want to get into Korean literature, then read this book. It's emotional. It made me fall in love with my ordinary life, and there are 2000 quotable lines in it. Next, if you want a romance in YA, we have Better Than the Movies by Lynn Painter. There is no better YA romance book. I love this book so much. It's a story of Liz who just wants to find love like she has seen in her rom-com movies, but she's unable to do so. That's all I'm gonna tell you. Apart from that, go blind into it. If you want a good YA romance, then this is your book. And in the end, we have tragedy. We have The Boy in Striped Pajamas. This is also historical fiction. So if you're a teenager or even an adult and you've never read historical fiction before, you can start with this one. It's tiny. It's a bomb. It will explode. It will explode and you'll never be the same person again. It's a story of 9-year-old Bruno who has to shift from one place to another because of his father's job, and over there he wants to find a friend, and he finds the boy in striped pajamas, and they both share the same birthday. So Bruno wants to become his best friend, but this entire book is about something completely different. It is set in the Second World War. That is all I will tell you. Oh my god, that was like a lot of books and I am so exhausted now, but I really do hope that I made your binge-worthy book playlist. If you did enjoy the video, please do like the video. It helps me a lot, and subscribe. I'll see you guys again very soon.